What's up, guys? Jim the Game Guru, your video game and board game nerd. Switch games, board games, and VR. Alright, so I got another unique board game here. It's really cool, based off of a popular anime series, Cowboy Bebop. This is Cowboy Bebop Serenade, Space Serenade. Take a look at the box there. It is a deck building game. It's a deck building game that has miniatures. You can actually travel from planet to planet, and what you do is you capture criminals. And it's got like the similar thing from the Bounty Show on there. And all your popular characters, you've got Spike, Jet, Ed, and Faye Valentine. Faye Valentine used to be the hot anime character back in the day. Still is to some people. But here we go. I'm gonna rip open the box. I'm gonna show you the components, and then we'll do a quick how-to with 2 players to show you how the game is played. All right, let's dig into some Cowboy Bebop Space Serenade, the deck building game. Okay, so what we have here in this beautiful setup that we have with this game is we have 3 planets. We have Earth, Mars, and Ganymede. And then we have the Bebop right here, the ship. We have 2 player boards, one for Spike and one for Faye. And right here are where which is really cool, is where the bounty cards come from for criminals. And this is like based off the big shots as the bounty show in the anime. Up here we have the full market that you can buy the cards. We have the actual damage deck over here, where when you engage with criminals, you can actually take these cards into your deck, and they're usually a negative. We have 3 starter criminals, 1 on each planet, and I'll go over here and I'll show you an example of a criminal card. All right, so this is Lee Sampson. What happens is we have a resistance, and then we have an investigation section on each of the cards. So in this game, one of the resources you gain are called clues. So you can use clues to capture a criminal by getting all the tokens that are on this spot using clues, or you can use strength to gather the tokens that are on this pile right here. And sometimes some criminals will have an effect that when you reveal them, it'd be like right here in the middle. So something happens either to the middle deck where it recycles the cards or whatever. So let's go here. All right, we'll take a look at some of these other. See, like right here. So when this one's revealed, all 5 cards in the center of the market deck will actually, in the center market will actually get refreshed with new ones. So some of them have special abilities like that. Over here we have renown points. They're kind of shaped like sheriff badges. And these are basically victory points that you get whenever you end up capturing criminals. The criminals themselves will have the victory points on top as well. So every criminal that has these planet counters on them for the resistance and for the investigation, whenever you get these counters, whichever player does, and then once the criminal is caught, these counters, these little counters here that we put on and I'll show you all 3 of them, they turn into renown points. You exchange them back in for renown points. And there's 1 for each planet, just like that. And each criminal themselves also has victory points at the very top. So whoever is the one that actually captures the criminal on their turn will end up grabbing that card and flipping it over on their side, and then they'll use that for victory points later on. Every player starts off with their own starter deck, and I'll show you a quick starter deck here. And these are the starter cards for Spike. So what happens is you have 4 cards that are part of the starter deck, and you can tell which ones are starter deck cards because they have a B at the very top. And then you have 6 cards that are neutral that finish up the very starting deck for your player. And eventually what happens is you can get cards that will remove junk cards out of your deck. And the same thing with Faye, because I'm playing with Faye and Spike right now in this how-to. So Faye has her 4 starter cards plus 6 neutrals. Every planet has a fuel gauge, goes from 1, 2, and 3. And what happens is whenever that fuel gauge gets to a certain point, a criminal can actually escape if it goes beyond 3. This fuel gauge also is how much fuel it takes to get to a planet. So let me show you what the character boards look like. So here is Jet's board. What happens here is every player has a fuel gauge on how much fuel they get. Now, fuel is the one resource in this game that you can get when you play your cards that does not go away at the end of your turn. Typically with deck building games, you play cards to get resources, like a virtual pool of resources, and you use them on your turn. But in this game, fuel is the one resource that will not go away. You actually store it. You can store up to 10 of them. When you get the fuel, you can use it for either a special ability. So these are Jet's special abilities here. And then each player board also has a reminder of what the other player's special abilities are. So Jet has this ability where if he spends 2 fuel, he can actually remove 2 damage cards. The fuel on this gauge for each player board is also used on certain cards when you play them, and it's also used to move your character to a specific planet. You cannot engage with the criminal on the planet unless you actually move your character to that planet. So here are the cardboard. I'm going to show you the cardboard miniaturettes there. Let me see if I can find Vicious here too. Where is Vicious? I thought I had him over here. Oh yeah, here it is. So here are the cardboard miniatures. So you have Spike, Jet, Faye, and Ed, and then here's Vicious. Vicious comes into play at the end, toward the end of the game. He'll come out, and then you're not going to be actually battling any more criminals in the planet. You're going to be hunting him as he moves around and trying to defeat Vicious. And Vicious will be a card just like this that will be revealed. So here are the cardboard miniatures. There are also other miniatures that we can play with instead of the cardboard. Now, I haven't seen anything in the manual that says otherwise, that these particular miniatures are any different than the cardboard ones. I think these are just optional if you decide to use these miniatures instead of the cardboard ones. So here we go. So we have Faye, and we have Jet, and then we have Spike, and then there's Ed and Vicious. So Ed and Vicious. So really, really cool. You have the option of using the cardboard or these better miniatures. Now, I'm not using these better miniatures for this how-to because these ones actually have color to them, right? And I think these would be really cool if you end up painting these ones and then using these instead. So those are optional. What else do we have? So okay, the damage deck is over here. Let me just show you some of the cards here from the common deck. Now, you can just look at the graphics on these, like the artwork on here, really, really good. I mean, these are actually, and this is kind of standard what I would expect from the actual anime. But the nice thing that I love about these cards, well, first of all, the cards feel good as far as thickness. But the thing that I really love about these cards are look at the color. Just look at the color. Look how rich the color print is. They spared no expense when it comes to dousing the cards with color. There's a lot of games, especially with yellow, a lot of games that will have a fainted yellow, kind of very light yellow. But this is printed absolutely beautifully. Now, the anime on the cards is just pretty much standard. There's not anything extraordinary. It's standard from what you'd see in the show. But absolutely fantastic looking cards as far as the colors. The colors on these cards just pop. I mean, they insanely pop right off. So let's take a look at the anatomy of a card real quick. I'm gonna show you this here. The top part right here is the cost of the card. This takes 4 oolong to buy. The top left is the character this card belongs to. Now, the best way to look at this top left part is kind of like factions. A lot of deck building games have factions up here on the top left. So this character is kind of synonymous to like a faction. Then right over here, you have the effect of the card. Then over here is what you gain. And then this right here is a teamwork effect, a team effect on this. And what that means is if I had, so this is spike, right? This will give you an additional strength. But if I had played, let's say if I played this card here that has spike up here, the character here, and then I ended up playing this card after that, I would get the effect, the team effect, because I played spike as a card along with this card. So team effects happen whenever you play a card of that same character, or you can think of it as faction. Okay? So in other games, this team effect is considered like an allied effect or allied bonus. All right, so those are some of the cards from the common deck, the wound card deck, or the damage deck, I should say. You will end up drawing a damage card whenever you take off the resistance coins off of a criminal. And again, really good, deep, rich print. And each one of these cards have certain effects whenever you draw them. So the idea is whenever you get into a resistance, a battle with a criminal, that you're going to end up taking some kind of damage, right? So there's all some of the damage cards. It costs 1 fuel to go back to the Bebop. So let's go ahead and dig into the game. But before that, actually, I'll show you the manual really fast. If I can not destroy the board, it'd be great. So I'll show you the manual really fast. The manual is very well written, except for the teamwork. The teamwork was the one place I thought it did, or sorry, not the teamwork, the team effect was the one place that it did a bad job on. So it tells you the rules of deck building. If you're not used to deck building, you can read this big long page here with how deck building games work. It goes over component, the anatomy of the card. It goes over the criminal cards. It goes over the wound cards. It goes over some of the things on the cards you get, like Wulong's fuel, strength, and clues. It goes over the setup of the entire board. I mean, the print is absolutely fantastic. As you can see here, it just looks really, really nice. It goes into playing your turn, playing your cards, confronting a criminal, purchasing cards, updating the movement gauges on planets, capturing criminals, and then it goes into almost 2 pages of Vicious, when Vicious appears. These are the 2 pages that you're going to read when you're confronting him, so you know how to bring him out and battling him. Like I said earlier, I'm not going to do the Vicious because it's going to take too long, because that's toward the end of the game, but I'll show you how the main gameplay is of the game. Then you have character abilities that goes over the cards and your different character abilities. Every character gets 2 abilities, which is really cool. So you can use either A or B ability. And then it goes over ending the game. Basically, the person that has the most renown points wins the game. And then there's a solo variant, which is really cool. So if you want to play solo based. All right, so let's get rid of the manual. Let's go ahead and dig in. Okay, so I'm going to start off with Spike over here as the first player. So in most deck builders, you draw 5 right off the top of your draw deck. Let's see what he's got. Okay, so we've got 5 cards here. So it looks like, okay. So we have 2 cards here that he's going to gain 1 strength and 3 fuel. So I'm going to play these 2 cards. He gains, and every character starts off with 1 fuel. So he gains 3. So we'll go up to here to 4 fuel. And then he gains what? Okay, so let's go ahead and 3 Wulongs. So he gains 3 Wulongs, and I can buy something up here for it's worth 3. So what I'm going to do, so it looks like there's this one right here, which is going solo. The other players with at least 3 fuel lose 1 fuel. Okay, that's kind of cool, and you gain 1. Or I can do this one where you gain 1. I might do this one. So I'll spend the 3 to buy this card. So now these all go into my discard pile. Now over here, go ahead, Faye Valentine will go. Actually, what am I doing here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so what does she got? She has 4 Wulong. Oh, you got to flip a card to replace the card that was purchased previously. So she's got 4 Wulong, and then she got 5 Wulong, and then an ability says you may move 1 non-player character for free. So we're gonna go ahead and spend the 5 oolong. She's gonna play these, and I don't know. Let's do this one. Okay, so this will give her 2 fuel and 1 strength. Okay, that goes in a discard pile. Now we'll go ahead and go over here to Spike. Now you notice on the last turn with Spike, I didn't spend any of my fuel because I didn't want to. So this time he gets 4 oolong from these 4 cards. He can buy a card. Well, actually 5 and a clue. So he's got 5 and a clue. So the clue will go away at the end of his turn. Here, let me flip another card because I didn't replace the card before. So 5. I'm going to do this space mushrooms, which gives a lot. It's a draw 2 card. Draw 2, remove 1 of them, or pay 3 fuel. Okay, so that goes in the discard. Now, all that Spike has no more cards in the draw pile over here, right? So in deck builders, whenever your deck is gone, I'm just gonna do a loosey-goosey shuffle here. I'm not gonna do a riffle or anything. But in deck buildings, what happened in these deck building games is whenever your draw pile runs out, you reshuffle your cards. Now this is how you get, let me flip another card over here. This is how you get the cards that you purchased back into your deck. What happens is whenever you purchase cards, they go into your discard pile, but then they recycle back into your deck after you shuffle. So now Spike is going to go ahead and draw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for his next hand, but we're not there yet. We're going to have Miss Faye Valentine over here go. So she's going to spend her cards here. So she gains 3 fuel, which is cool. So she gains 3 fuel. She's up to 4 now by spending these 2 cards, and she gains 1 strength. And she gains 3 oolongs from these 3 cards. What are we going to do? Maybe what we'll do is we'll buy this one. By synchronization, this will actually gives her 2 fuel whenever she plays that. Okay? So now, person over here with Faye Valentine no longer has a draw pile. So guess what? They have to shuffle now. So they're going to shuffle so that they can cycle their cards back into their draw pile, right? In order to use them later on. There we go. Reveal another card over here. Now, maybe we can go ahead and try to combat a criminal here. Let's try. So, Spike here. Oh, but Spike has... Well, I do have fuel to move, but I don't have any strength or clues because you need a certain amount of clues and strength to be able to take off some of these counters off of the criminals, right? So, he's only got a bunch of moolah. So, he's got 4 oolong. And, oh, we got to draw 2, though. So, I'm going to play the draw 2 first thing. And then it says, remove 1 of them or pay 3 fuel. So, let's draw 2. Now, remove in this game is basically is like trashing or scrapping in other games, which means that it's removed from the game. So, you got to be really careful with that. I'm going to pay the 3 fuel. So I'm going to go from 4 to 1 because I don't want to remove one of these 2 cards that I drew out of my deck because these are not the starter trash cards. So we drew 2, so I get to keep those. So now I can put these down for... I'm going to play these 2 for 3 fuel plus 1 strength. So he gets 3 fuel plus 1. So he goes back up to 4. He's got 1 strength. He's got 4 oolongs plus 1 clue. Okay? So he's only got 1 strength, which I wish he had a little bit more strength. So 4 oolongs and 1 clue. So what are we going to buy for 4 oolongs? And we'll buy this one, I guess, that it's going solo. The other players with at least 3 fuel lose 1 fuel. Okay? That could be kind of dangerous when he plays that against somebody else. All right, so those go in the... Spike's gonna go. Spike gets 2 strength. Okay, so here's where we're gonna encounter one of the criminals. We're gonna go after. It doesn't really matter. They're all the same, except for this one. Mao Yenrai has 3 in resistance, but we're not gonna do that. Okay, so he gains 2 fuel, Spike, from these 2 cards right here, and he also gains 2 strength from those 2. Okay, so we gain those 2. We're up to 6, and we have 3 oolongs. Is there anything we can buy with the 3 oolongs? No, there is not. But Spike is going to spend 1 fuel. Okay, he's going to go up here to Earth, and now what he's going to do is he's going to spend his 2 strength. To get these 2 tokens from resistance. Okay? These cards are no longer valid because there's 3 Wulong and he can't buy anything up there. So, he gets these 2 coins from the resistance, but he also has to draw a damage card for each one because he didn't go the clue route. The clue route is always safer because it doesn't cause you to draw damage cards, but the clue cards also take more to capture criminals. So it only took 2 strength to capture this criminal, but it takes 4 clues to capture them. So we went the strength route this time. So these 2 tokens are going to be gone because no one's going to get them. He's going to end up getting Teddy Bomber Spike over here on his side. So we'll put it right here. So he's going to get Teddy Bomber as points later on. But guess what? Teddy Bombers were 0. So it wasn't very good. But that's because these are the starting criminals. When you set up the initial board, you're going to have starting criminals. And then they're going to have, the other criminals are going to have points beyond 0. So that goes down like this. Now he has to draw 2 wound cards. Put this card in your discard pile. See that? So that goes here into your discard pile. Now he's got to draw another one. This one is put this card on top of your deck. Now the ability down here is what can happen in order to remove the card. So this card, you can remove it for free after you draw it. But this action right here says what you need to do with it first thing. So this goes on top of his deck. And as you can see, this went into his discard pile. So the damage cards are bad because they are filler for your deck. So when you get them, what happens, you're going to draw them as you reshuffle, and you're not going to get any kind of bonuses from them. They're just filler, and you have to get rid of them in order to get to the meatier part of your deck. So that is gone. That other damage cards is on top. And he'll gain 2 renown for these two coins, right? So he's going to gain 2 renown, which are these. So he gets 2 victory points right here. He goes back automatically to the Bebop because whenever you defeat the criminals, the characters go back. And now we have to draw 2 more characters, or 2 more criminals, sorry. So this one goes to Earth, which is Hex. Hex goes to Earth. He requires 5 coins right here, 5 counters here, and 2 counters right here. So we're going to put 2 Earth counters right here in resistance. And for the investigation part, we're going to do 5 right there. Okay, so that's how many you need to get rid of off investigation in order to capture that criminal, and that's how many you need to get off of resistance. So that is done for that, but we have to draw 2 criminals every time you defeat a criminal, or criminals, right there. And then this next one is going to Earth, but he can't go there because there's already one there on Earth. So what happens with this criminal? This criminal ends up being removed, and this fuel gauge for the planet goes up by 1. So now it costs 2 fuel in order to come to Earth. So Spike is done right there. So go ahead, we're just gonna do just a little bit more and we'll be done. Now Faye's gonna go, and what? She's only got 4 cards, so that means she's gotta shuffle her deck again. Okay, so she needs 1 more card because she has 4 cards in her hand already. There we go. Looks like she's got a 3 fuel, 3 Wulongs, 3 fuel, 3 Wulongs, and that's it. And 1 strength she gains. So she gains 3 fuel, she goes up to 7. She's gaining 1 strength, she gets 3 Wulongs, and she can't buy anything, but she could spend fuel to gain Wulongs. So she's gonna spend 4 fuel to go back down to 3, so she gains 2 more Wulong to make it 5. So now she can buy this card right here, which is codename Julia. And then this gives her 2 clues too, which is kind of cool. And then this goes back into her discard. Okay, so these are all in her discard now. Now we flip the next card over. So it's kind of your choice on how you want to defeat these criminals, whether or not you want to build up a bunch of clue cards from the cards you buy in the center of the deck, or whether or not you want to buy cards that give you a lot of strength to ground and pound. The ones with strength cost to capture the criminals are going to be less. Usually, for most of them, are going to be less counters to do that than the investigation ones. All right, so here with Spike, we're going to draw. Remember, we had to put that 1 damage card on the top from his criminal before. So now this, as you can see, it's filler. It takes up a spot in this thing. So now I need to get rid of this card because I'm allowed to for free. And he's only got 4 cards now, so he gains 2 fuel. Oh, but he's got this one, which just gives him a draw 2, which is fantastic. But he's got to spend 3 fuel if he wants to keep it. So he's going to spend the 3 fuel. He's going to go down to 2 because he wants to keep those cards. And now he gains 6 Wulong, 1 clue, and 2 fuel. So we're going to gain 2 more fuel for spending that. No team effects. But he's got 6 Wulong, and he's going to buy this one right here, which will give him 3 clues and 1 fuel. And these go into the discard pile. So here we go. We're going to draw 5. And let's see what we got. Now she gains 6 fuel. Oh, here we go. So we're going to do one more criminal now, and then we'll end this video. So I'm going to go ahead and replace that card. So she gets 1 Wulong, which means garbage. So she gets 1 Wulong, but let's do the fuel. So she gains 6 fuel on this one. And no team effect because she doesn't have a Spike card to go with these 2. So she's got 2 cards right here that have 2 team effects with Spike. If I had played at least one Spike card down, she would have gotten a draw 2 because each one of these is a draw 1. Wow, she gains 6. She goes all the way up to 9 fuel. And she has a ton of strength. 2, 4 strength, right? So she's going to go ahead and spend... What is she going to do? Maybe she'll go up to here to Hex. So she'll spend the 2 fuel to go to Earth. She'll spend 4 fuel because it requires 2 for each. 4 strength because it requires 2 strength to remove each one of these counters, right? So she's got 4 strength from these 3 cards. So she's gonna go ahead and spend her 4 strength to get these 2 tokens from Earth. And then now she's got that there. This criminal is now gone. These tokens go back. She captures him. She gets 1 renown later on in the game because there's 1 renown on there. So she gets this criminal. But she gets 2 renown for these 2 tokens. So we put these back, and so she gets 2 of them. So she gets 2 renowned here. Now she goes back to the Bebop. Let's go ahead and draw 2 more criminals. Now this criminal was captured, so this fuel gauge goes down to 1. So this one goes to Ganymede. There's already somebody on Ganymede, so this is gone. The fuel gauge on Ganymede goes up by 1. So now what's the next person? Mars. There's already somebody on Mars. So that is gone, and the fuel gauge for Mars goes up. So now it becomes harder for people to go there. There's no criminal here, right, on Earth. That's because the 2 I drew were from these 2 planets. So now this forces players to go to these 2 planets. And they have to spend more fuel to go to these planets and then spend their resources to get the tokens off of those criminals. And then that's how you kind of go from each one. I know that the 2 that we focused on this demo was for Earth. But now it's showing you how we have to go to the other planets. And that is pretty much it. You go through and you build your deck. You build your deck by purchasing cards. You get the wound cards if you take off resistance. You engage into combat and by removing resistance tokens from the criminals. And you just build up your deck and try to build the best deck you can with the best combos, with the team effects, etc. And you go through and you just capture these criminals in different planets. And then when this deck right here, this big shots holder goes down to the last 3 cards, you're eventually going to get to Vicious. And then when you get to Vicious, what's going to happen is Vicious is going to come out. And he's going to come out onto one of the planets, and then you need to go to the planet to try to defeat Vicious. And there's a possibility that he can actually move around. And yes, he can actually escape as well. All the criminals can actually escape in this game. And the way they escape in this game is if the fuel counter gets to 3, for these normal criminals that are on these planets, if the fuel counter ever goes beyond 3, the criminal escapes, and then the fuel counter resets on the planet. Really cool game. I love the artwork because it's based off of the anime. I love the anime. I love how rich the colors are, and I like the player boards. I like how you have multiple powers. You have 2 powers for each character, and I like the fact that it uses the standard deck building mechanics with the resource that never goes away, which is fuel at the end of your turn, and you use that for certain abilities, and you use that to kind of move on to the different planets. But anyway, guys, that's it. I will see you on the next video. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please like. Please consider subscribing if you're into video games and board games like me, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.